Oh my God! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles postgame show presented by Bet365 and TrueMark Financial. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 and visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Holy crap! We're here. The Eagles survived, exhale 28-22 in an unforgettable game in the snow. Bo Wulf, Super Bowl champion, Vinny Curry, Jamie Lynch, Fran Duffy here to talk about it all. There is so much to talk about in this game. We're going to hear from Zach Berman from the LINC as well. But let's start going around the horn. Vinny Curry, your number one takeaway from this game.
I got two takeaways.
Okay.
Two takeaways. Jalen Carter is a dog. And then, of course, everybody know it. Saquon! Man, those guys, man, it was out there unbelievable, man. That game-saving play at the end, that sack was super clutch.
I would straight up take a bullet for Jalen Carter and Saquon Barkley. My God, to get a sack in a hurry with the game on the line on 3rd and 4th down, I am not doing well physically right now. I thought I was going to soil my pants.
You look great.
My anxiety levels were through the roof, and Jalen Carter brought me back to a sense of normalcy.
Francis?
To me, when you get to this defense and you look at Jalen Carter and what he did, I mean, 6 tackles, he had 2 sacks, he had 6 pressures in the game. That was a season high for Jalen Carter. His best game, I would say, probably in Eagles green, saved it for the biggest moment, biggest game of his career.
Anyone's ever played.
Just unbelievable performance from Jalen Carter. But then even just the defense as a whole, with what they were able to do for the longest stretch of the second half. Yeah, they gave up that touchdown drive. They gave up some yards in that final one, but the bend but don't break, just the willingness to come through on top. Unbelievable performance from the defense.
There is so much to talk about. The Eagles are now 1 game away from the Super Bowl, a game they will get to play at home next Sunday against the Washington Commanders, a game that we have been looking forward to from a rematch standpoint. But in this game, Saquon Barkley, as you talk about, Vinny, 26 carries for 205 yards, a 76-yard touchdown, and a 64-yard touchdown run. Jalen Hurts had a 40-plus yard touchdown run. The defense, though, let's start there because that's where it all is, right? And we're all doing the Andy Reid, you can all count, right? The Eagles are up 6 points. Jake Elliott has missed 2 field goals in this game, and Jalen Hurts took a safety, and so you're playing this math like, oh my God, if they hadn't just made those mistakes, this wouldn't be a potential game-losing situation. Puka Nacua catches that insane ball over Darius Slay down the sideline, and the Rams are in the red zone. And then, as you said, 3rd down, Jalen Carter, who earlier in the game punched the ball out on defense. I thought that we talked about this on Friday, how, yes, a snow game would maybe create the variance that might not be in favor of the better team like the Eagles. However, it also made it the schemes don't matter. It's the Jimmies and the Joes. This is a player's game. Puka makes that great play, but then Jalen Carter, the guy who has emerged as the best player on this defense, made like the season-saving play. Unbelievable stuff.
Oh, my God. The game that he had, the punch-out, the 2 sacks, that sack coming up, that was super clutch. Let's go before that. Way to set the tone in pregame.
Yeah.
He already let it be known that.
Going after
I'm on one today.
Yes.
I'm on one today, brother. And then to back the game up with the game you done had, Jalen Carter, you are my hero.
And he's been playing like every snap. The second half of the season.
68 of 70 snaps he played in this game.
And that's what he does every week.
Was double teamed 26 times on 49 pass rushes. Got the 3rd down sack, got the punch out on that forced fumble, critical play. It was an unbelievable performance from 98.
And
the season is over, if not for him.
If not for
right?
Jalen Carter, the season's over.
You always got to be worried about the quiet killers. When he walked up to Jared Verse pregame and just wasn't animated and was just like, yeah. And
Verse was smiling. Like you could tell he was on the joke.
Was just like,
Jalen Carter, stone cold.
And you know what? We talked about it in the summer, right? There were just times in training camp where it felt like Jalen Carter just decided, okay, I'm gonna wreck this possession right now. Okay, it's my turn to just take over. And like with the season on the line, he just tosses that right guard aside and gets the sack that absolutely saves the season.
Back and just almost the same exact move and almost got it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
A hurry on the 4th down, like on top of it.
Vinny, having played in the other most memorable snow game in Eagles history, that snow game against the Lions, what is it like footing wise? Is it advantage pass rush versus offensive line in a situation like that?
I would say yes because we're going forward. You know,
right. You're going forward, they're going backward.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing as like wide receiver DBs, right?
Yeah, man. But let me just tell you, our game was fun. But to advance to the NFC Championship, I think this game was just that little bit better.
That game was not as stressful. All of our heart rates is still coming down.
Let's get a little thumbs up in the chat here for NFC Championship.
Unbelievable. And then I mean, there you talked about the middle of that game, right? Where after the safety that Jalen Hurts takes, it's 16-15, and the defense at that point took over. This was when the weather was the worst. The conditions were the most severe, and the Eagles took advantage with that Jalen Hurts forced fumble, and then the Nolan Smith one. That was really when this game was turned.
So off the free kick, you're right. So the Rams get the ball. It's 15-16. Second play of the drive, Jalen Carter gets the punch out. Next drive, you get a 6 and out that ends with a Nolan Smith sack fumble. Then you get a 3 and out. Moro Ojomo started that drive with a sack off the stunt. And then Oren Burks gets the PBU. Then you get the touchdown drive, and then Jalen Carter ends it at the end. I mean, just unbelievable final stretch. That fourth quarter was a work of art there from Vic
That
Fangio's
fumble
group.
punch out saved my sanity.
Oh, you were losing it.
I was on the edge. I was sticking my head in the toilet. And Jalen Carter saved me.
The toilet, not the oven?
Yeah. Well, we don't have an oven, so I have to opt for the
Microwave.
toilet.
Tell us in the chat, I guess, if you're breathing yet.
I am not well.
Like how high your heart rate is, because this is wild. And yes, there's going to be a lot to pick apart. The passing game was not ideal. A lot of sacks taken. But I do think that this, contra to like last week, this was a game where like you survive however you can to get out of this game, and then regroup and pick up the pieces before playing an NFC Championship game at home next weekend.
Yeah, this is one where you were sitting here just going through the look. There's a long list of things where if they lose this game, it's you look at this moment, you look at this moment, you look at this moment. All of these, what could have been if they had made this play. Survive in advance.
I would have been thinking about the Mekhi Becton illegal man downfield penalty for 8 months.
What about the Lane Johnson false start on the 4th and goal push?
I also want to give Burks his flowers, man.
Absolutely.
He played great.
Oh, man, way to step up, man. Way to step up. Way to be at competitive excellence. You know, when your number was called, you was in the right spots. And then that tip, I think that tip was clutch because
it looked open.
Yeah, he made several key plays in this game, and it was interesting. Fangio was using him sort of like he was using Nakobe Dean early in the season, where he didn't always trust him, was sending him forward a lot. But there were some real splash plays that Oren Burks made to make up for some of those other plays. And listen, like that's what this is all about. Somebody's gonna get their number called. We have like injury news to get to because Quinyon Mitchell leaves this game with a shoulder injury. Isaiah Rodgers had left the game at the end, so Keely Ringo's on the field at the end.
He did come back, Rodgers.
He did at the very end.
Rodgers at the very end was back on the field.
So because that looked like an Achilles.
There are things where like you need guys to step up, and like with the season on the line, all of these guys had moments where they
Zack Baun
they affected
too.
the outcome.
I mean, the blitz
Zack Baun was unbelievable,
and the pass breakup there, like he played like a defensive player of the year.
I'm telling you, man, that's what you call collectively kicking ass.
Yeah, like Nolan Smith gets the sack fumble.
Sure.
He continues his long string of plays.
Slay.
Moro Ojomo continuing to shine. Right, Slay. To your point, all of these guys just taking turns making plays. Jalen Carter, obviously, we start the show with him, but defensively, a lot of praise to go around.
It's a game where you have to give the props to Howie Roseman for like the depth of the roster and the star power of this roster. Even just thinking back to the domino effect of moves that got them multiple first-round picks a couple of years in a row. Jalen Carter, a top 10 pick, even when you're coming off a playoff season. You hit on Nolan Smith. Like the star power of this roster is the reason I think they're winning this game. And we can get to a longer Jalen Hurts conversation, but going out to get Saquon Barkley, who is your big play machine in this game, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Just they're so talented.
Yeah, and that's what that is. We talked about it the very first show of the week. We said that is the identity right now, certainly on offense, is that they are more talented than you. The Jimmies and Joes are going to win out over the X's and O's each and every week, and that has been the winning formula for this team so far. They got to do it for 2 more games, right?
I was in the building, man, when Jalen ran that touchdown in.
Unbelievable.
Let me just tell you, that was all well and 1-2.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
breaks that first tackle.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, that place erupted.
44 yards, the longest run of his NFL career.
And he meant that.
Yeah.
He meant every 44 yard of it. Mm-hmm. That was crazy.
They ran that play like 4 or 5 times. And look at it. The one went for 44, another one went for I think 15 or 16. One was a Kenny Gainwell run for 10. So it was a successful play for them in the game.
I think that is in a different world. That is the epitaph of the 2024
they ran that play,
season.
yeah.
They ran that play 4 or 5 times. But that's all right.
They're
going to the NFC Championship game. I do I can't get on all of the little mistakes too much in this game because it was such a wild situation. Yeah. And they're going to the NFC Championship game at this point. And we'll get to how that matchup plays out in a little bit. Let us know what your favorite play from this game was. Why don't we go around? Let's do our game balls. Let's do our game balls presented by Xfinity Mobile. Game Ball is proudly brought to you by our friends at Xfinity Mobile. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services. Fran, I'll start with you.
I think I got to go Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I think when you look at a running back who goes 200 yards against the same team twice in one season, I have to think that's the first time that's ever happened. I've got to think that's the first time. It's certainly the first time that it happened in the postseason. We talked about the one stat on Thursday where every running back who ran for at least 200 yards that had a rematch against that team in the postseason happened 7 other times in NFL history. None of those other 7 cracked 100 yards. Mm-hmm. Saquon got over 200 in this game. Some next-gen stats there from a couple of those long runs on those 2 touchdown runs. He hit over 20 miles per hour on both of them. That gave him 13 runs of 20 miles per hour this season. That's more than double the next ball carrier. Just the big play threat, the sustainability, what he has brought to this offense. I mean, it has driven the Eagles to this point in the postseason.
Jamie, you give yours.
I won't take the next obvious one off the board.
I'll save it for Vinny.
I'll save one for you and Vinny over there. I'll go a little more obscure. I thought Darius Slay had a veteran. I mean, how many times did you hear Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp's name? I know he wasn't exclusively on all of them, but he kept Nacua in check. He had a couple key pass breakups. I thought he had an exceptional game.
I think that's a good one. You can go ahead and give it to the big man.
I left it for you, Vinny. Take it.
Saquon!
Doubling down.
Let me just tell you, man. Yo, did you guys see the way the last touchdown run? I don't know where you guys at right now. If you go back, he looks at Jalen. Jalen looks at him. He's like, "Yo, bro, I'm giving it to you." It looked like it was like some type of RPO play, and he just gave it to him, and he busted open. He was already smiling when, 2 seconds before they said go. Man, it was just Saquon.
I'll give mine to Jalen Carter then to give the guy a little bit of love since we talked about him so much. But I mean, he's on defense.
Zack Baun, you can make a strong case for. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys showed up today.
So Saquon, Jalen Carter, and Darius Slay. I'll get a little piece of the game ball on behalf of Xfinity Mobile. Thank you to Xfinity Mobile for that. Let's check out the early super chats from the fired up Eagles fans. Claude Debussy says, rather have healthy Pickett or McKee than injured Hurts or Hurts in general, but especially injured. We'll have that conversation. I don't know that Kenny Pickett would have been the answer in this game, but Hurts was hobbled, and there were some issues in this game, but they won the game. Tony Brown, Vinny, where did you get that hoodie?
Oh, Chalkline. I got this hoodie from Chalkline.
Week in, week out, this show is just like a thirst trap for Eagles fans getting whatever Vinny's wearing. Every week he comes in and he's got just swag out. DFC says there is nothing more stressful than watching the Eagles play their incredibly ugly brand of football. All those bad sacks took years off my life. Yeah, I don't think there's a single Eagles fan who was not losing their mind throughout this game. And we also need to talk about that last offensive possession, the way that they approached that.
Do we?
Curious?
I mean, Chris Collinsworth.
We're going to stick on like the happy stuff first, and then maybe we'll bring it down.
Collinsworth with like, it takes a lot of guts to take the ball out of Saquon Barkley's hand on second down. Does it, or is it just moronic? Guts?
I think that was what he was trying to say.
Yes, he tried to say it politely, and it sounded idiotic.
Jason Henning. The 2-minute defense has been dreadful all year. Honestly, not a terrible point. Rohit says, I thought the Eagles lost about 5 times. And Josh H. says, it is clear AJ's knee will probably require surgery in the postseason. If he caught that perfect ball, this would be a different game. Now, there were a lot of plays in this game where if would have turned out differently. Now, there were some on the other side as well, but I think it is fair that AJ doesn't look 100%. He finished this game after having 1 catch last week. This game, 2 catches for 14 yards, including that drop at the end of the first half.
One of them was a big one. That third down catch at the end of the slant route was a huge play.
That was a 4th down play.
Yeah, 4th and 4. Yeah, good call.
Yes.
Yep, the 4th and 4 slant for 5 yards was big. But yeah, clearly he's fighting through it.
No doubt about it. All right, let's talk a little bit about the offense beyond Saquon Barkley. Dallas Goedert 4 for 56. Saquon 4 for 27 had a big reception at the end of the first half to get them out of the shadow of their end zone when they ended up falling out of field goal range. 4 for 21 for Devontae, 2 for 14 for A.J. Brown, 1 for 10 for Kenny Gainwell. That means Jalen Hurts 15 of 20 for 128 yards. And how many sacks did he take?
7.
7 sacks.
Including the safety.
And a lot of them where it's like you're yelling at him, just throw the ball away, including the safety, which was like an absolutely baffling decision when it looked like Dallas Goedert was open, not only just to throw the ball to, but to like dirt the ball to from the end zone.
So Next Gen Stats will put out after games, typically it's just like a blurb on a player, all right, and it just kind of encapsulates the entire day. So they have one on Jalen Hurts. This is from Next Gen Stats, just went up a few minutes ago. So Jalen Hurts, and there's a lot to unpack here just with this, just a few sentences. Jalen Hurts was under pressure. Now remember, they define pressure as when a defender's in the vicinity, GPS tracking. So he's under pressure on 43.3% of dropbacks against the Rams, 13 pressures, 7 sacks. It was his 3rd straight game over 40%. Hurts even averaged his quickest time to throw in the game this season, 2.81 seconds. It's an interesting stat. Through the air, Hurts was efficient underneath, finishing 14 of 16 for 97 yards on attempts under 10 yards downfield, compared to 1 for 4 for 31 yards on throws over 10 yards. Before suffering a left knee injury in the third quarter, Hurts had 71 rushing yards on 6 carries, including the 44-yard touchdown on the opening drive. So,
yeah, I think
a few things to look at there.
I think this was a gutty performance from Jalen Hurts. I mean, obviously he was extremely banged up on that knee, the way that he sort of bent awkwardly and they had to put a knee brace on. But all the more curious to then have him drop back right after that in the end zone. I think they would like to have some of those calls back. Would you think on the last offensive drive? So it's 2nd and 7, and you want to bleed the Rams timeouts. Obviously, you want to get a first down first and foremost. 2nd down, you call that play action rollout to the left,
whatever the hell it was.
Which there's some nice upside to that play if it pops. But if not, do you want him taking that sack and taking away the timeout from the Rams, or would you rather him throw that ball away and then you can throw it on 3rd and 7 and try to get a first down potentially? It's a tough call.
I think I'd probably rather take the throwaway.
Yeah.
The thing with a lot of these sacks is that, they didn't show like outstanding replays on them to see like, all right, what did Jalen see? What did he miss? We were getting like texts and seeing things on social media of, like Jahan Dotson was wide open. Jalen missed him for a touchdown, like those kind of things. But I kind of want to just wait to see, all right, what does the film look like on it? But 7 sacks is 7 sacks. And it wasn't, a lot of them were not the, oh man, he's under duress really quickly. It's not, to me, like the stuff last week with Darnold against this Rams front. It was the sacks happened earlier in the down. A number of these were like, all right, the ball's got to get out at some point. You got to make some kind of call there. But again, I do want to see what the film looks like from that respect.
And I do think that conditions were a major factor, as you talked about, Vinny. This did not look like the offensive line's best game from a pass protection standpoint. I think that has a lot to do with the conditions, right?
I think it was the conditions, but if you go back to the 1 sack that Fran we were talking about, I think it was just miscommunication. When it was a slide call.
Yeah, I think Gainwell is maybe supposed to come in there.
Yeah. You got to pick him up. Everybody slide, to the left. One guy pick up. So it looks like
that was
they was getting freebie sacks.
Took him out of field goal range at the end of the first half.
I don't want everybody to think, oh my God, you missed your sack. No, that wasn't on him. That was just the line call itself.
Right.
I think a lot of that had to do with it. But that goes to show you that that's how loud it was. It was loud in there. It was loud in there. Got the conditions going on. You know, ain't nothing like the game before the NFC Championship. But, you know, can't be like that next week.
What do you remember about playing in that snow game in 2013?
Man, the best memory I got is just to watch LaShawn McCoy make history was crazy, and to be a part of that. And that, you know, years later, people still talk about that game. So,
and now they're going to be talking about the Saquon snow game. Because I love that those two talked yesterday, and Shady's advice to him was just trust your cuts. Like, don't think that, you know, it's not going to be there. He's like, go for it.
That final touchdown, that long one. No, that's exactly it. Yeah.
I want to see a screenshot of what Vinny was talking about when Jalen or him checked out of it. The smirk Saquon had.
That was crazy.
Right before that play. It was like he knew. Like, this man is not human. I cannot believe John Mara let him walk out of the building for $2 million. You
I don't think it was Mara who let him go. Mara would have gone.
Well, true. Joe Shane, you dumbass. Thank you so much. We'll put your name on the trophy.
I'm curious. I'm sure Zach is going to be on this, but the equipment staff, a huge part of this game, I imagine, because it was much different conditions first half and second half.
All right. Shout out to Greg and his staff.
Yeah, I wonder if they changed cleats going into the second half.
And Saquon, Zach mentioned this pregame with us, Bo. Saquon in the Brazil game didn't heed his advice.
He didn't trust it. Yeah,
and he said, "This game, I'm all yours. I'm going to do whatever you tell me."
Well, listen, you know, when you don't know better, you know, coming from, you know.
That's right. You couldn't trust the people in that building. You got to learn.
Do, man.
It's
turn you into a believer.
Coming out of a toxic relationship, it's hard to rebuild that
Yeah,
trust.
there you go.
Well, good for Saquon. He's found happiness.
Oh, we found happiness too.
It's a very mutually beneficial relationship.
You can do it.
Another super chat from T. Grant, who says Saquon look before the touchdown was, "I'm going to the house. I'm taking this to the house." Yeah, I mean, hard to argue. Aaron D. also says, "Great win, go Birds. Nice to see the offense taking deep shots, but we still needed more from the passing game to win it all, and the kicking game. The kicking game, I mean, it's, you know, the first extra point, the weather was not bad. That's like, you know, Elliott needs to make that. I do have to say that, like, some of the other kicks that he made in this game, given the conditions, were nails.
44-yarder, he made a 38-yarder. Yeah,
both huge.
Yes.
And so, like, I'm not willing to just totally rag on Elliott in this game. But yeah, I mean, math-wise, you could use those.
When you realize, like, the Rams go down, they score that touchdown, and they're down by 6, and then we punt the ball back. You had to have seen Jamie at that point. I'm sure it was 90% of our audience.
I'm a little slow with the math, and then it caught up to me, and it just washed over me, and I was like, "My God, you missed 2 of them, man."
You're still coming down.
I am not well. Like,
I mean, if
the anxiety spikes I had during that game from the highs.
Right?
You think so?
Yeah, it got to be all. I'm thinking they got all confidence. I mean, Jake Elliott is the man. You know, obviously none of us ever seen you know him perform like this.
And it's not a leg strength thing. You know, he's getting the ball
at all. So I mean, I think, you know, when you miss like those first couple, it's probably still lingering over him. But my guy need to, you know, just meditate a little bit and understand NFC Championship. I'm going to make every kick. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if they had lost this game, we would have been talking about a lot of those, you know, stepping on themselves things. Yep. There was the missed extra points, the safety, 3 dropped interceptions in this game.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean at the end, Darius Slay on the first play of the game, and Isaiah Rodgers had the one wrestled away. And then obviously the 4th and inches for a touchdown false start on Lane Johnson, which I don't know what that call was because it didn't look like a false start, but whatever it was, took a 7 to 3 points. Like, all of those little things, which we have sort of talked about, they make mistakes a lot, this team, finally coming back to bite them, but maybe they're good enough that it doesn't matter.
I mean, that's at some point.
This is the worst team that's ever won a Super Bowl. Right. Like, you know, it's going to be like,
look, they're 2
hang
wins
the banner,
away.
everybody's fired.
Exactly right. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, this team finds a way to win, and there's something to be said for that. I got to do it 2 more times. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, Jamie, this is the matchup you wanted. How you feel?
James Daniels.
Be careful, a real monkey's paw situation.
Yeah,
me and Jay were texting late last night, and he was already, like, the anxiety was already starting to override.
I'm going to be with some Commanders fans this weekend, too, coming up before coming back to work. And since we're in the
All
trust
7 of
tree
them,
here
yeah.
and it's just us girls chatting, Jaden Daniels terrifies me.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. He should.
But Jalen got knocked out of the game. I think if he was in the game the last time, it's a totally different flow. I know Jaden ripped up the defense in the fourth quarter. I don't think that's going to happen again. I feel all right. I have the opening line if you're curious on Bet365.
Ooh,
let's flip it here. And,
okay.
Play Guess That Line with Bo.
I'm gonna say Eagles 4.
I was going to say 4.5.
Vinny?
I'm not a big bettor, so I'm gonna go ahead.
3.5.
Eagles minus 4.5 on
4.5.
Bet365. Ding, ding, ding.
Nice. Wow.
That's about right.
I think that's
Feels
about
right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's take our first break here.
Would you like a fun fact on that game?
Please. Yes.
It's the first NFC East championship game since 1987.
87. Okay.
Can you guess what team played in '87? Because I can't.
Giants, Washington.
I think it was Giants, Washington. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Let's settle down. Quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then much more to talk about from this wild game as the Eagles are headed to the NFC Championship game. All right. We start with our dear friends at TrueMark Financial. You know all about TrueMark Financial. We talk about them all the time. Let me just get this actual copy up, and I'll tell you all about them. TrueMark Financial. If you're maybe thinking about dipping into the bank for some tickets to Nolans, you're going to need to make up for that on the back end, right? Well, if you could pay off those debts faster and with zero interest until 2026, TrueMark Financial is the place to be. It's true, because TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest on balance transfers for 12 months, so all your payments can go toward reducing your balance, not just covering interest. Here's the play. Transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But hurry, you have to apply by February 28th, 2025. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a low rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate.
And if you got a hunch on next weekend's games and want some spending money for New Orleans, you can head over to Bet365. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. They perfected live in-game betting. They have over 90 million users worldwide, and they stream over 780,000 events every single year. And they have the best early payout offers in sports. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, or hockey, if you hit the criteria in said sport, you'll get cashed out right then and there on the spot. You don't even have to wait till the end of the game. And with their same game parlays for NFL, you can probably get in on tonight's game. It's never ordinary. Place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on NFL Sundays and get up to $25 in bonus bets. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. And whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And breaking news from Bet365, new customers now get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. Sign up, use that code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you, Bet365.
So on the season, including the playoffs now,
Okay.
Saquon Barkley is up to 2,329 rushing yards. He is 148 yards, a meager 148 yards away from taking that record from Terrell Davis for the most rushing yards in a season combined.
And he's got 2 games to do it.
You could do it in the first half against Washington next week.
I mean, if they play defense like they played yesterday.
Yeah, right. Jameer Gibbs was on his way last night.
Yeah. I mean, mean, that's a more impressive record than the other one, right?
Those defenses.
It's not as known, but
I know everybody was praising Washington and Detroit's offenses. Those defenses sucked.
I mean, that Lions defense was
they're beat up. I
totally
get it.
beat up. What did you see from that Commanders defense last night, Fran? Because they weren't that bad when last time the Eagles played them.
They created some turnovers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Sanders still made a great interception on the end zone on that post. You saw some punch outs from the sack fumble standpoint. Their ability to create those turnovers, and we talk about that with we talked about it last week with Green Bay. Talked about it this week with the Rams. Is that when you are a team that's kind of like feast or famine, and yeah, you're going to give up some yards, but you also have that ability to be a chaos agent and create those big plays. If you've got that ability to be opportunistic and take the ball away, that can tilt a game. You get those individual plays that can go the other way, and all of a sudden, instead of it being a tie ball game, you get a 14-point swing. That's what happened with this Washington Commanders defense in that game last night.
Yeah, spin zone, Jared Goff stinks.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think they should have kept Teddy Bridgewater?
Ooh,
I mean,
he took him on a scoring drive.
Yeah,
that's true.
He did have a nice drive. Probably not. I mean, you got to go back to him, but
okay.
Little old doll hands.
I think
Goff.
they should be. I think they should be quarterback curious this offseason. I do.
I think you've gone as far as you can go with Jared Goff.
It's going to be a season of change for them, presumably.
Probably.
With the coordinators.
Yep.
I think I would swing for some upside. I like the comparison that was made. I believe it was Joe Kearns, DFOP, who said like the 2016 Chiefs. You've sort of gone as far as you can go with this group. Maybe search for some upside.
Make some big changes.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not. Man, this game was so wild. It was
bonkers.
I really think that
by the way, Baltimore up 7-0 early.
Oh, interesting. That stretch that we've already talked about, but defensively after the safety, where like that was the worst of the weather, it felt like. And boy, did they respond at the line of scrimmage with the Jalen Carter punch out, then the other sack. But to go, I mean, there was a stretch of this game where the Rams possessions were 3 and out, fumble, 3 and out. Like that 4-possession stretch is when the Eagles pulled away, and boy, was that huge.
There was that stretch too where because Kyren Williams, I would say for the majority of this game, he was able to get some chunk plays on the ground. You saw a 20-yarder, you saw a 12-yarder, you saw a 15-yarder, which was been uncharacteristic of this Eagles defense. But then they hit that stretch where he could not get anything going on the ground. The snow had picked up, and the Rams said, all right, we have to try and run the football. And it was something like 7 out of 8 plays were runs, and it was just unsuccessful run after unsuccessful run. Really, really impressive from that standpoint for this Eagles defense. But another number just going across from Next Gen that really stood out to me as well. Stafford completed 26 of his 44 pass attempts for 324 yards in this game, but just 29.5% of his passes were to what Next Gen qualifies as open receivers. So talking about how many yards of separation there was at the catch point. That was his second lowest in a game this season. And to me, like why that was notable is that this is a scheme that we know is very, very good at getting guys open, finding a space for Stafford to be able to operate. And with the weather being that it was, so you have the scheme, and then also the receivers have the ability to create that separation. The fact that the Eagles back 7 was able to consistently be in the hip pocket of these Rams receivers, that speaks really, really highly to that group, to Christian Parker's group, to Bobby King's group, that entire Eagles defensive back 7 for making sure that they made things difficult for these Rams pass catchers from start to finish in this game. They just was not wide open. They did not have those slam dunk layup throws there for Matthew Stafford for the majority of this game.
Yeah, and there were like a lot of guys. Jamie called out Slay, who was blanketing guys throughout this game. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who I think missed a tackle early and made a couple early mistakes, but then settled into this game and was bringing some thunder. And Isaiah Rodgers,
played pretty well,
just like Oren Burks. Like he has every time he has been thrown into a difficult situation this season for a guy coming in, and they're always targeting him right away, and he always answers.
And my guess is we're not going to get great news on Quinyon Mitchell.
Somebody in the chat just said that Quinyon said he doesn't think it's a long-term thing and thinks he'll be okay. No, that's just somebody in the chat.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I mean, his shoulder was dangling as he came off the field as I was watching from the press box there early on. But it was 2 plays in to the game essentially, and he comes out and he was in the tent for a long time. And he wasn't declared out right away.
Right.
Well, maybe that's when.
Not until after halftime. Yeah. So that that makes me think it's not a break.
But he did go to get an MRI.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe it was a stinger.
Well, at first he was getting looked at reportedly from the sideline reporting. Independent neurologist looked at him and then they were calling it a shoulder when he went back, and they said he was going back for X-rays.
Yeah.
So that made me think, all right, like broken collarbone, something along those lines.
Stinger,
It's not
like
that.
if you're hopeful,
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wait and see.
Hope he's okay.
I hope so too. I mean, I hope he's okay for his sake. I mostly hope he's okay for Jamie's sake.
Yeah, I would not do well with a Super Bowl run and no Quinyon. That would be tough.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
I always like when other players tweet about our guys.
Okay.
And Bijan Robinson. Man, Saquon, thank you for making us running backs look amazing. This position is looking great. Fire, smiley face emoji. That's good stuff.
The running backs are back.
They are. I mean, when you look at Gibbs last night and the impact he had on the game.
Gibbs was really good last night. Yeah.
It's crazy how much they can rely on him creating explosive plays.
It is.
Like on the first long touchdown drive, I liked the design. Fran, I don't know if they showed it on the broadcast where it was 11 personnel. They had all 3 receivers to the left, and then Saquon comes to the right. And so that means that if he beats one guy at the second level, there's nobody on that side.
Yeah.
And he just houses it for 64 yards.
Then he looked back at my man.
That was awesome.
That was crazy.
That was verse too.
Yeah, it was Verse
Yeah.
flailing his arms, running after him, and Saquon was like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, I mean,
So
26
cool.
26 carries, 205 yards, just about 8 yards a carry.
Ridiculous.
In this game. Obviously you got the 2 explosives there, but just an outstanding performance from him in this game.
And on the season now, including the playoffs, 8 carries of 50 yards or more, which is the most for a running back since 2000, and I think maybe all time.
Wow.
But I can only go back to 2000.
Right,
on the
which
search.
I would imagine that goes hand in hand with that like 20-mile-per-hour run stat from earlier. That the amount of big plays where it's not like this is a 190-pound running back that's the electric in the open field
Right.
making these big plays. This is
Like
a guy
Jahmyr
that
Gibbs.
yeah, exactly. This is a guy that can still bang between the tackles and get you that tough yardage and do all that while also being good in pass protection, catching the ball out of the backfield. We've seen explosive plays in the pass game as well. I mean, one of the biggest X factors in the National Football League right now.
The Eagles are very grateful that Vinny Curry invented him.
Thank you, Vinny.
Getting back to week 1, it's all Vinny. If it wasn't for Vinny, I think it would have just been a pedestrian season for the Eagles running game.
Wow, you listen. I listen. The week 1, I just told y'all that he was going to be MVP. The rest, he had to do it, man. And if it wasn't for the Giants front office, and we wouldn't be yelling, "Say what?" you know. So
Yeah, you were very quick to pick up that the crowd was chanting MVP at him after that.
I love it.
Touchdown run.
Dude, and I'm Deion Sanders put out the other day, co-MVP, and I'm for it. I'm for it.
Bo, we have a tweet from the professor that he would like you to address.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Says, did not play cornerback Emmanuel Forbes, offensive lineman Dylan McMahon.
No wonder they lost the game. They didn't get McMahon in.
I thought
would have been
it
the
was-
difference.
I thought it was going to be that Dallas Goedert was getting the MVP chance. Not Saquon.
Yeah, it was Goddard. He might have been on the field there. Wild. We got a bunch of super chats rolling in, so let's continue to go through those. We have one from Steve who says, "Are the receivers never open, or can Jalen just not read the field?" This is you gotta wait and see.
Yeah. So see
What's
tomorrow.
how's the all-22 on a snow game? Is it going to be
We're
difficult?
gonna find out.
Okay. I'm wondering if your index goes back.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, when it gets bad, it's bad. It did to me, like the visibility didn't seem too bad. Like for the watching on TV, like we could still see pretty much everything. So my guess is that the all-22 will be fine.
I don't like when they give us the computer overlaid yard lines. I wanted to see what the field looks like.
It's because we know that you hate technology. We know
That's
this.
true. K-Red says Vinny Curry appreciation post. Just
K-Red.
throwing it out. Vinny Curry, who has been killing it all season. Hark saw Cameron. The adrenaline dump after that game was unreal. Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
Josh
congrats.
H. This is what playoff football should look like. I kind of like that. I mean,
I could go with an easy win. Like I didn't need those anxiety crashes and spikes.
yeah, but think about how much more rewarding it'll be if you then get to the promised land with this in the background.
Sure. I like steamrolling teams too.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why Vinny, you and Fran both said that this game reminded you of.
That Falcons game.
Yeah,
But do you know what happened in the Falcons game, right? Nice little steamroll.
You
That's
got
right.
the steamroll after
A
that.
little Meek Mill action.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
I'll never forget like the feeling of watching warm-ups NFC Championship game, Minnesota. Like, didn't matter who was walking through that door. Like, you guys are not losing that game.
Nah, that game was crazy.
As Chris Long said, anybody could have gotten it that day.
Yeah.
I would like to see those vibes again.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yo5 High says, Jerry, I've changed my mind. You can take Kellen.
I'm not going to fight you. I mean, he's all right. If he's back here, it's fine. Yesterday. If he's gone, it's fine. You know,
I feel like every year we say the same thing. Like, it's a new OC.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Except at some point, it's not the OC, and there's other issues. But, that's for another day.
We'll have a lot of months to talk about that. Yeah. Matt says Hurts never gets enough credit for what he does well. I think that's fair. We do talk. We harp on some of the negatives. I mean, the 44-yard touchdown run to open this game.
It's huge.
The math that he changes in the running game. Obviously, like an extremely gutty effort for him in the second half of this game, playing through whatever that injury was and what he's been playing through all season long. Yeah, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of stuff that you would like to be a little bit better.
Seeing video of him walking off the field, he does look quite gingerly on his walking.
Yeah, you could tell. When they zoom in to his face after that
on that knee. Yeah,
right. Like, oof. I thought that could have been
that looked nasty. Yeah,
we thought it was picket time.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
We need him to twist an ankle and get McKee ready.
It's the Commanders next week. Make the switch.
Yeah.
Like, make Tanner the better. You already saw how it worked out with Denny Pickett.
I'm with you. Make the switch this week.
Nikki Loves Music says, Slay, the best 34-year-old corner ever. Legend. I mean, it is true. There's
not many guys that age that
there's like a survivorship bias to it because you don't get that far unless you are really good, but it is extremely rare for corners to still be playing at that high of a level at that age. Like, extremely rare.
You think about, like, not to say like, oh man, Bo, you really messed this take up, but when they made the trade in 2020, there were questions about, like, all right, like, are they going to be able to get good value from this? He has the great season in 2022 on their way to the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, like they bring him back. And it's like, oh, like, how much more is he going to be able to give? And he's still playing at a high level, considering all that.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
He's been awesome. He's been better than, frankly, he should be, given the age.
Mrs. Slay, he's got his wife tweeting up a storm. She said, big play, Slay. That's it. That's the tweet. So,
banana pudding.
Get that pudding for everybody.
Probably a good night in the Slay house.
Musa Hamida says, when will we condemn Kevin Patullo? And Michael Toma says, D-line needs to prep against no huddle next week.
Yeah, the whole defense needs to prep against no huddle.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this Washington team. Just going back and going through notes this morning, watching a little bit of film, even like last night was starting the prep on it. They give you a lot to prepare for. Certainly, when you're getting ready to take on that team with the QB run game, vertical shots, no huddle, screen and RPO, the empty, like there's a lot that you have to prep for. Now it's beneficial that this is the third time the Eagles have faced them, and so that prep is going to be a little bit more familiar. So they have that working in their favor, but it's not easy going up against that offense, as we know.
What do you got?
I think Lamar just threw a pick 6 to tie it up 7-7. I'm not positive. I just caught the end celebration, but an interception that led to a touchdown. Okay.
We were talking about this earlier before you guys got here. Who is that game bigger for, Lamar or Josh Allen?
It's tough.
I would say Lamar.
Bigger for Lamar, I think so. That's where I landed too.
Yeah, I sort of feel like it's bigger for the Bills, but bigger for Lamar. Like the quarterbacks, it's bigger for Lamar, but it's bigger for the Bills to try to get over that. You know what I mean?
That's the right answer. Yep.
Here's a pretty good quote from Josh Sweat in the locker room. It was only a matter of time before he was going to kill that right guard. No disrespect. No disrespect to that right guard. Josh Sweat on Jalen
Carter. That's so good.
That's one of those things where you're like, even if it's bulletin board material, like we're not going to see that guy until at least next year. I might not be here anyway.
That's so funny. Disrespect. Well, yeah, they were double teaming him a lot.
Yeah,
that was an interesting choice to leave him singled up on that play.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Now, this also means now that we have Eagles Commanders NFC Championship game, you know what this week is.
Oh God,
it's the week of the Josh Harris face.
It's Josh Harris week, and here's my deal. This is why this whole thing was ridiculous in the first place. You can't own a team in Philadelphia and a rival in the division for the Eagles. It's ridiculous. And so here's what I'm doing. I'm calling on the entire city of Philadelphia. There is only one Sixers home game this week. It's Friday night. It's a national game. I think the message to send to Josh Harris after he dragged the city through the mud and wasted all these millions of dollars on his bait and switch proposal, I want the entire city of Philadelphia to boycott that Friday night game. I don't want a single Philadelphian in the house. Send the message before the NFC Championship game that Josh Harris cannot own the Commanders and live in this city.
Hear, hear. Except tune into the Sixers show when you're not going to the game.
Yeah, watch the Sixers show
instead.
Watch the PHLY Sixers show, but don't go to the game. Don't give your money
simple.
to the doofus. It's not fair. Come on.
Your money pays Dan Quinn's salary.
When you buy a ticket to the Sixers game, you're paying for Jaden Daniels' extension.
Good point.
Feel good?
Get him out of here.
Feel better now?
I mean, we got a long week of that. That's just the beginning. We got a whole week of Josh Harris content.
Is that going to be the most uncomfortable Zach is all week during the Josh Harris discussions, or will
Impossible
I'm sure you'll find it different way. Yeah.
Impossible to say. All right. How do you feel about that matchup?
Look, I think that the Eagles are a better team, but this is an offense. They are going to come to Philadelphia like riding high. This is a team that's going to be playing with a lot of confidence. They're going to put a lot of pressure on the Eagles on both sides. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a fun matchup to break down.
Now, spin zone, because I was already here last night because I knew they were going to win this game. It was never a doubt.
No doubt.
Yes, no doubt. The national narrative is going to be on the Jaden Daniels hype train hard this week, and rightfully so. He is awesome. That locker room is going to feel, I don't want to say underdog right there, but
the Eagles are going to feel disrespected.
They're going to feel a slight amount of disrespect with the narrative being the Eagles barely got out of this one. Jaden Daniels was perfect. He's great. He could be the first rookie ever to go to a Super Bowl. It's going to be nauseating, Eagles fans. Buckle up. It's a good thing. Embrace it. Let the birds get pissed off. And then you got them at home in the NFC Championship game. It's perfect script. It's perfect storytelling. Make them pay.
I would say, too, I think that this team is very excited to play Washington third time.
I mean, that was a really heated game.
Yes.
Given also the cheap shot on Jalen, at least what was
and
thought to be
Lovo
a
does
cheap
it
shot.
again last night.
Yeah, that is a bit of a dirty team.
Yep.
I think that is going to be a tempers flaring
early,
nasty game early.
I think that the Eagles are going to be they're going to be excited for this one.
How do you feel about the game, Vinny?
Nah, I got faith, man. Listen, at the end of the day, we in the NFC Championship. The NFC Championship is in Philly. I feel good.
All right, I got a little update here from Jordan Schultz.
Oh, his boy.
Sources, Eagles star Quinyon Mitchell not believed to have sustained a serious shoulder injury. Despite leaving the game, the team remains hopeful and optimistic that Mitchell will be ready for the NFC Championship game versus Washington.
Okay.
So good news.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about whether that's true or not, and more concerned about your mental health for tonight.
I
will
appreciate
help you
that.
sleep. Yeah.
I will forego my own mental wellness as long as that man is on the field.
Staying from the first round pick this year to the first round picks last year, it should just see this laid out. This is from the 33rd team that put this out. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, the two first round picks from last year, combined in this game: 7 pressures, 4 hits, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles.
Woo! Oof. It's nasty.
Pretty good.
You want to talk about hitting
Pretty
blackjack?
good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is this roster, how good it is. It is the 4-year window of player acquisition from when they bottomed out in 2020, right? Now, if you count just wins from 2020 until now, the Eagles are, I believe, 5th, and so that's including the 4-win season across the league. And then if those same drafts. So 2021, 22, 23, 24, those 4 years of drafts, the pick equity, like the pick value of the first, second, and third round picks they've used, they're 11th, and that doesn't include A.J. Brown. And if you include that, they would bump up. And so they're the only team in the league who is anywhere near the top 10 of both of those things. And that's because of the foresight of the Carson Wentz trade gets you eventually a first round pick. The trade with the Saints gets you another first round pick. The cumulative value of those moves have set the Eagles up to have a winning team that also has A.J. Brown and Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and these guys who they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, and this is when you
and
look
that's
at
how, even if you don't have Dylan McMahon and you lose Christian Ellis, you are still able to overcome it by just the skin of your teeth.
And also, you say that tongue in cheek, but also like it allows you to miss on Bryce Huff.
Yes.
It allows you to miss on
Sure.
Devin White. Like when you're taking when you're able to win on the margins in some areas, you're not going to bat 1,000. And I think that when you look at Howie Roseman and the job of that front office, both college scouting side and pro scouting side, the last couple of years they've been outstanding.
Yeah, I think it's when you know that you are pricing in the hit rate's only going to be between this range, you're not going to get everything right. That
Right.
The underlying decisions you make, the more value you're able to accumulate. If you still have that same hit rate, you'll still be good.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very impressive. More super chats, I believe. We have one from Josh Ace, I hope it's not that Josh H. Josh H. Who says Josh Harris is praying that the Commander season gets DC to approve public funding to help rebuild RFK Stadium. Well, I suppose so. I do think there's the there's the framing when you have a season like this for the Commanders, like they've got the general manager in place now, they've got the great young quarterback. This is only just the beginning of them being great for a long time. I do think you got to sort of pump your brakes there. Like every season's different. That may not be the case, but
By the way, Cosme torn ACL too.
Was that confirmed? I missed that today.
My Commander's buddy just started the excuse train.
Yeah,
he just
he's out for
texted
the
me.
season.
He's done.
What did he say?
He figured with how quickly they declared him out last night, I assumed, but I hadn't seen the report. Yeah,
I sent him the Quinyon update, and he sent me back. It won't matter. Cosme's out. Best offensive lineman down.
Cosme was awesome against Jalen Carter in both games. So that is a huge, huge loss. Their best offensive lineman by far. That's a really big loss for them, for sure.
Who replaces him?
That would be. I can tell you.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Through the film yet. Yeah, I haven't gone through the film yet, so I got to look and see.
And while you're looking that up, Bo, your friend Olivia from the Inquirer just spoke to Quinyon. He said he is, quote, fine after his shoulder injury. She asked him if he had any long-term concern, and he said, no, I'm going to be good. Quinyon! That's all.
There we go. I mean, it's not the same, but it's good.
It's great.
Yeah.
He'll be back. That man deserves an NFC championship.
If we want to be a little dip in the toes, and it's not pessimism, but dealing with some of the other stuff that did not go so well, do you have faith that this passing game can turn things around if the weather cooperates next weekend?
Yeah. AJ did have a quote about that, and he said the passing game today, I just saw in the locker room, he said you kind of have to throw it out the window with the elements.
I think you do.
So
that's
I
fine,
think that's
but
fair.
then you're still going back to last week when it still wasn't.
I think the bigger issue outside of like missed completions tonight was kind of between the ear stuff of like not getting the ball, taking a safety. Maybe the play call with the bootleg there was, what are you doing? So I think it was more between the ear stuff than actual like physical grip or catch issues. So I do have, that's to say,
but the thing is now, you know what, like, if they had to play 17 games, I don't have faith that the offense is going to be a top 5 passing offense. But they got 2 more games.
But they don't have to be, which I think is the beautiful thing.
Right. But all they need to do is have a good game.
Win.
Just have a good game.
It's not a problem until it's the problem. Like until you need it, and so that's gonna be the thing. Is that, can they keep the game script favorable enough in the next 8 quarters? Where that doesn't rear itself to be an issue.
I like how you went 8 quarters, not 4.
Oh,
I like that.
For you.
Thank you.
Vinny, was it tough when you think back to those playoff runs, maybe 2017, that there's that Falcons game? How tough is it to turn the page emotionally? You come off this crazy win, but you still got work to do.
Oh, no, it was easy because, like I said, that Falcons game was mad emotional, but you get ready to play in the NFC Championship at the LINC, what a game. You win this game, you're in the Super Bowl, and a chance to add history was all we was thinking about.
I think that's fair.
What's this week like for you? Just try to keep things as normal as possible?
Absolutely. But I think the Birds is gonna put a hurting on Washington.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
like we sit here, we talking about the pass game. We could do all that we want, but at the end of the day, even with the pass that AJ should have caught, that pass was. You see how he turned his whole body? Like we're talking about a pass that a regular receiver probably wouldn't even thought about doing that, but he's Batman, and it's like he was open. Like he had that much separation on that guy. You know what I mean? So hopefully we see him, go crazy next weekend. And usually when he goes nuts, everybody goes nuts as well.
I'd like to see the AJ breakout game for the playoffs. That'd be fun.
That would be a great time for it to come in the NFC Championship, sure.
And another with the guy whose career he ended last year, Emmanuel Forbes, on the opposite sideline this week. Maybe do it to another Commanders player this time.
Yeah, we'll get the Marshawn Lattimore potential.
Yep.
You guys might have to go back to that Coach Sirianni and Zach Ertz little thing.
That's right. I was thinking about that last night. Yeah, when he recovered, it's almost enough to make you kind of root for Zach Ertz.
Well, he recovered the onside kick last night. That's all I could think of. It's like,
I know.
Nick's not
And a touchdown.
He scored. He scored too.
Yeah, that's right. He has scored 40 touchdowns in his career on that exact route. It's unbelievable. He's so good at running that route.
Zach Ertz, you just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? Oh, actually, I didn't have that much to do with it. I'm not going to go to Disney.
I wonder if the Eagles win this game, can Brandon Graham come back? No. Yeah.
There was how about get a little insider Vinny Curry? What do you think?
I mean,
what are your sources telling you? Do you have a little scoopy?
I'm just saying. BG, we living through you. You can do it.
I mean, what a story that would be.
That would be
if they
awesome.
get to the Super Bowl and Brandon Graham comes back. And didn't the Commanders do his thing? They did his thing yesterday.
Yeah, they did. That pissed me off.
What was that about?
But I think that kid,
Is it a Michigan
from
thing?
Detroit.
It's a Michigan thing?
It's a Detroit dance. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
BG
did.
made it
was
so
like,
famous.
whoa.
Right, I know. You don't recognize it as the BG.
Called BG. It's called the Boss Up.
Okay.
Even all the Detroit boxers do it too. It's crazy.
Oh, okay.
They all do it. It's called the Boss Up.
Oh man, what a story!
That would be crazy.
That's gotta be weird for Ertz coming to the LINC for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
Oh man,
A lot of storylines.
the him and Sirianni thing is so. It's so stupid. Why would he say that to him?
Yeah.
Oh man.
We got time this week to talk it through.
Yeah, I'm sure we do. Who else should we talk about? Who have we not talked about?
Who have we not
Jake
talked
Elliott?
about?
Do we need to go more into
I
Jake
just
Elliott?
think the
Be better,
analysis of the
Jake.
kicking, they're not going to make a change,
No.
right? So it's just kind of like you got to make the kicks.
No, we could also talk about Kenny Gainwell when
He was good tonight.
let me
Yeah.
tell you when Saquon went out the game,
Yes.
Kenny Gainwell was killing.
He gained well.
He looked really good.
Well.
Yeah.
He was killing, and then that swing pass was crazy.
Is he enough? Has he shown enough this year to bring him back?
I would say I say he compliments.
It
Saquon
is a
really well.
nasty one too,
I like
right?
it. I like it.
I think it depends on the
Like, is he going to
price.
get a big enough offer on the
Yeah.
open market that you
Yeah.
can't afford
Yeah,
him?
that's
Probably
what we-
not.
I think it's like you let him see what the market is,
Sure.
find out what it is, and decide whether you would want him back. I mean, in theory, they drafted Will Shipley
To be that guy.
to be that guy,
Similar skill set.
but
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, that's also we know that Sirianni loves Kenny Gainwell like more than anybody on the roster. So
Yep.
maybe he gets to say.
He was good tonight.
We got a super chat on a good unsung hero.
Okay. Max C, yes. Braden Mann
Great
tonight.
call.
Unsung
Great call.
hero.
Good punts tonight. Yeah.
Well, the
Huge
holds.
Yes. And the
Two
holds, too.
really
Great
good.
call.
Two huge holds.
Yep, that's a great
on
call.
those tough
Nice one,
kicks in the
Max.
snow. Good call. And then Michael Alvarez says, couldn't it just be that Hurts and Moore look better with a second season together? What happened to the Hurts never has an OC 2 years in a row narrative? I totally agree with this. I think
It's
this is a fair thing. We heard about it so much last year. The only year that Jalen Hurts has ever had the same offensive coordinator or play caller 2 years in a row since college. They went to the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think there's reason to think that if they got to continue cooking together, the recipe might be a little tastier. But
Yeah.
but there are no guarantees.
Yeah, but if I'm guessing, man, I think Kellen Moore takes a job. I think the pressure here. I think he just don't give me that.
He's not feeling it.
Yeah, I think he probably wanted to go. He probably wanted to go off like, hey, you know what I mean? But Kellen, hey, this is Philadelphia. This is how things is operated. Everything is on pressure.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think if he gets that Dallas offer, obviously I mean, if he gets any offer, he's going to take it. But
absolutely. But it's the thing I always tell my kid. I say, pressure is a privilege.
Sounds like a true Berman right there.
That's right.
That means
do you tell him that comparison is the thief of joy?
And pressure makes diamonds?
Nah, I tell him that greatness is expected of you. That's what pressure is.
Yeah, that is pressure.
Gotta give that one to Zach.
Yeah,
Zach right about it.
Zach loves saying.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. It's just like we all we got, we all we need.
Yep.
Yeah, they stole it from you.
I ain't steal it. Listen. For one person that bleeds green to to the next generation.
Okay.
It's for the next generation, But yeah, man. So that's what when you think about the city of Philadelphia, you think of, playing sports is pressure, but pressure is a privilege, and privilege means greatness is expected of you.
Yeah.
That's what they say about this show.
That's right.
Ooh, yeah. Pressure's a privilege.
I'm telling you, I was down in the first trust break. All you heard was Saquon. I started looking for Saquon for real. I'm like, wait, he's on the field. They talking to me. That was crazy.
That's great.
I'm with Cousin Grace. Bring the sax man back for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought Jesse McGuire was good today. The trumpet was very good, but Vanya sax, yeah, he was good. I think you got to go. What
little trombone shorty? He's a New Orleans guy, though. Is that foreshadowing?
Can somebody do it with the flute?
I want to know how the Frisbee Dogs did at halftime. There was no update there. Obviously, we were doing the halftime show. So tough conditions out there for the Frisbee Dogs. I want to know how.
Is that enough juice for a playoff game? Frisbee Dogs?
I think you got to up.
Got the job done.
Yeah, barely.
I enjoy Frisbee Dog.
Okay, I enjoy Frisbee Dog at week 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Frisbee Dogs NFC Championship game.
They had them today. That's what I was saying. I want to know how they did.
What would you do? What would you do for NFC Championship? It's so funny that now listen, I prefer the instrumental anthem, but it is funny to me that in week 17, which turned out to be a meaningless game, they had Keke Palmer singing the national anthem, and then we got Jesse McGuire now. So you went from star power to I like that. I respect that you stick with the real ones for the playoffs.
Bring Boys to Men in. Something like that.
Ooh.
That's always good. I think the last time they came in, Boys to Men would have been Giants. There was a Sunday night halftime. I feel like black jerseys, right?
Yeah, and it was was it the playoff games? It was I feel like it was a night that somebody was getting honored. It was like a.
Was it B-Dog?
Was it like a B-Dog or Donovan McNabb game?
No, because the only reason I know is because I was on the sideline for it working, and that means that we're talking this is a while ago.
Oh, okay.
It was the James Casey game. It was the James Casey had a touchdown on I remember
the James Casey game.
Yeah, the James Casey where he had caught a touchdown on a leak route. Victor Cruz got hurt. It was the Victor Cruz got hurt game.
Okay.
In the end zone.
Oh, and the guy celebrated?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
The guy celebrated.
Yes.
That was very funny. I agree with the chat. Let's get Matt Quinn from Mount Joy to sing the national
there you go.
That'd
Great
be
call.
great, yeah.
Great call.
That's the move. All right. Quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get ourselves ready to hear from Zach Berman from the LINC at some point. Valley Forge, baby. Listen, Eagles are not going anywhere. That means you want to stick around near Philadelphia next weekend, but you can still have a little bit of a getaway, maybe on Friday, Saturday, and you can do it in Montgomery County. Winter weekend getaways and family-friendly affordability await you in Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Valley Forge and Montgomery County have so much to offer, like must-see historical sites, tons of family attractions, a vibrant art scene, outdoor activities, shopping, and more. Just 18 miles from downtown Philadelphia. ValleyForge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today. ValleyForge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco.
And let me tell you about our friends over at the Game Time app. I actually just pulled it up on my phone right now to look at the early prices on the NFC Championship game. And, well, let me just say this. They're not cheap, but the best deals you'll find on the secondary market are through the Game Time app. I've used it a ton. This summer I was out at Wrigley Field, grabbed Phillies Cubs tickets. There's a couple things I like about it. The all-in pricing guarantee, the price you see up front is the price you're going to pay. You're not going to get hit over the head at checkout with hidden fees and all of this stuff. 2, your seat view, especially if it's a stadium you've never been to before, you want to know what you're getting into. And whether it's sports, theater, comedy, music, whatever it is, Game Time is the place to be. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to spend time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. The all-in pricing is awesome, and the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with the Game Time ticket coverage, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. What time is it? It's game time.
Good place to sell your Sixers tickets on Friday.
That's a great place to sell your tickets on Friday.
Shout out to
is Friday really the last game? No, last game. No.
It's the only Sixers home game.
It's their only home game this week.
Hence the boycott.
Yeah, if we're
Yeah,
sending a message to Josh Harris's pocketbook, that's the place to do
but
it.
we are 3:00 next Sunday.
Oh, is it definitely 3? Do we know?
I think I saw that.
I think that's I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
I think I saw the image floating around.
Shout out to Jane Wolf, who I believe is watching at home.
Oh, hello, Jane.
Yeah, shout out to Jane. Possession at the end of the first half and 2 possessions where they were near the red zone. They have had like end of half game management issues all season long.
Yep.
That one was particularly egregious given the stakes, and it wasn't quite that bad out yet.
Yeah, there was the was it after a sack, right? It was where they let the time bleed,
Yes.
and then they decided they were going to call timeout with 3 seconds left.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was,
When then took a sack on the Hail Mary.
and then they took a sack on the 3rd and 8. Yep.
But yeah, it was I think 2nd and 7, and I mean this is one of those where Jalen is just like staring at the rush, and you're like, just get rid of the ball.
He slipped when they try to pump fake it. The guy.
Yeah. And listen, I think that there's a lot of the coaching of protect the ball. Like he's not going to try to throw the ball if he thinks he could be sacked and lose it. But like the internal clock in this game was a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, it was all between the ear stuff, it seemed like. Preventable stuff. So I'm choosing to look at going forward next week. It's correctable.
They won the game.
Yeah.
I do feel differently about this game than last week, where like last week you're thinking like if you really want to compete, you got to play better. This game, because of the conditions, I think it's like really just exhale, survive, and advance.
And Jaden Daniels, I think the Eagles have a better defense to kind of minimize his big play ability to a degree, more so than Detroit. So it's not necessarily like, no game is the same. So you're kind of projecting ahead. So I think the Eagles defense nullifies that. So maybe you don't have to air it out as much.
What are the things, Fran, that you have told us with these 2 meetings with the Commanders that they were able to do defensively to negate the Eagles' run game advantage?
Look, they played 8 quarters. I would say 6.5 to 7 of those 8 quarters, the Washington defense has shut down Saquon Barkley in the run game. And I would say that namely in this second game. So remember, Jalen Hurts gets hurt.
First quarter's great.
First quarter, they're running all over them, up and down. They're moving the ball at will. Jalen gets hurt, and then Kenny Pickett comes in, and the run game screeches to a halt. And the narrative that everyone went with right away was, oh well, Jalen Hurts wasn't in. They didn't respect the threat of the QB run, and it completely shut everything down. That really was not the case, in my opinion. After watching, to me, it was that was the game where we talked about. The offensive line did not play well. Mekhi Becton had his worst game up to that point. The tight ends did not play well. And at the point of attack, you just had missed block after missed block.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a huge tight end game where CJ Uzomah was really poor at the second level. Grant Calcaterra did not have a good game in the run game. So now that they've got the MVP Dallas Goedert back in the lineup, you hope that some of that gets corrected. But even still, look, the run game has not been perfect from an efficiency standpoint down to down. Now, this week against, what we just saw against this Rams defense was outstanding. Keep that rolling. And if you get back into that groove, that would be good against this Washington front that has mostly struggled to stop the run for the majority of the season. They have not been a great run defense. We saw that last night against Detroit. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs was like north of 7 yards a carry. I mean, he was outstanding throughout the majority of that day. So I think when you look at this Washington defense, to me, it was more self-inflicted on the Eagles' end than, oh man, like Washington, they have an answer. Their answer is, we're going to put a lot of bodies up at the line of scrimmage, and we're going to do all kinds of stunts and slants and just kind of mess up with your blocking assignments. Vinny, I'm sure you could speak to the what that can do to affect zone blocking schemes when you're doing all the different slants and things up front. That's gonna make things tough for the offensive line, and from a mental standpoint, making sure those guys are on top of their assignments.
Absolutely, and that's a little bit. That's what I was explaining today. Like, you've seen some of the miscommunication of the line. That's why I try to say, do not just get on the line for those 7 sacks so much. Therefore it was miscommunication of a slide, because if you go back early in the week when I was talking to Jamie, he had me on the show earlier.
And by the way, you called the Commanders upset.
I did.
Yeah,
big
deal.
And I told you that in order for the Rams to generate pass rush like that, they're going to have to do shows from 5 down, confuse them a little bit, and do a lot of stunt gaming.
Yeah, I know at least 1 or 2 of versus stacks. Watching sitting next to Fran was on stunts.
Yep.
The offensive line was not great today, but it's not like they're going to be bad next week. You know what I mean?
And Fran, correct me if I'm wrong though. If the element wasn't like this today, usually when you get teams like that, the quick slants is there all day.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that when you're looking at, especially a team like Washington, that it's going to be a lot of man and it's going to be a lot of cover too. They're going to play a lot of press coverage. They're going to get up, but AJ Brown has been one of the best at defeating press, getting off, and winning on a slant route. And that's one of the things he does best. And so I know, as long as he's right physically, that should be open for him.
That was a huge play in this game. You mentioned it, but that
4th and 4
needed to go for it, because it would have been a 50+ yard field goal in the brutal.
You weren't making that.
And 4th and 4, we talk about the big plays that Jalen Hurts did make in this game. That was one of them. That was a huge pass to AJ Brown in what turned out to be a pretty tight window.
Yeah, and that was one. And to me, like when we talked about this week, the first Rams matchup in Week 12.
Right.
We said this was the quintessential Jalen Hurts game. This is what you want it to look like. Saquon Barkley broke all kinds of records. He has 300 total yards, 255 on the ground. That was a running football team. But Jalen Hurts made a number of big throws in that game, huge completions. If it was 3rd and medium, come up and make the big play. And we said on the postgame show after, like if this is going to be a running football team, that's fine, all good. But when your number is called, like, will this team be able to make the 5 or 6 times where you need to throw it and you throw it and they can't stop it? That's what it comes down to. And I think,
and they took a couple shots downfield today, which was nice. Early on, the one to Devontae Smith, where that was a dirty hit.
That was filthy.
It looked almost like it was kind of targeting.
It was targeting.
So
that was college. He was ejected from the game. I think that was Witherspoon, right?
Yeah,
it was.
That was
came
filthy.
off his guy.
Devontae is a tough SOB, man.
Yeah, he popped right up.
He is nails.
And then Cam Curl was talking smack afterwards. I don't know if they showed that on the broadcast.
No.
So Curl's the one who was covering him, and then Witherspoon
who also
comes
got
in.
Popped.
Yeah, and Curl's comes up and he's talking smack, and it's Devontae and AJ and Landon Dickerson, and they have to hold AJ back from really going after him. So
love that.
Early smack, yeah.
Go get him. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's dirty and hits your guy, go get in his face. Don't be smart. Don't get a penalty, but stand up for your guy. Love that.
We don't have Zach yet, right?
I believe he's here.
Oh, we do.
Let's get a thumbs up in the chat for Zach.
Everybody get excited because we're bringing in our man.
This is an exciting locker room he's leaving.
Let's get excited for Zach with the locker room report presented by valleyforge.org. Valleyforge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today. Valleyforge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco and make it Z-Burn. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Zach Berman. How you doing? You look dry, Zach.
Yes, I am dry in here. I'm fortunate that I was inside this entire time. I can tell you want to know how the locker room was? The locker room was ecstatic to be inside. I think that was the biggest takeaway. It was like, thank goodness that they are inside that locker room. It might have seemed fun to watch. For some of the players, it was fun. For the players who are honest, it was not particularly fun playing in those conditions. So, for instance, Josh Sweat said that he would take that Leafy Field in Brazil over this one any day.
Josh Sweat
dropping bombs today. I love that.
Yeah, he said that. AJ Brown said, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Okay, so
Jeez.
so right there.
Come on, guys.
So, now Cooper DeJean said he said he's never played in the snow before, which I got to break this news to Darius Slay, who does not want to move to Iowa because of the cold weather. He says,
Zach, you were getting killed for the Iowa thing in the comments the other day. I thought that was unfair.
Well, I appreciate you taking my side there. I asked Slay about that, by the way. I know we're not talking about the game for this moment. Slay said, if you pay him enough money, he'll live anywhere. But he said only if you pay him, we're good. If you don't pay him, he's living in warm weather. But Cooper DeJean said this was the first time. This was the first time he actually played in the snow. So that was one of the takeaways there. But big picture, this was a team that was like thrilled about the way the defense played in particular. Nick Sirianni's message was championship level defense. And you saw that tonight. And then also big picture here, because we'll get all the details, but Jalen Hurts first said that he has to see how this week goes. And so then I said, Jalen, I just want to clarify. Does that mean your status is in question for next week? And he said, that's a good question. No, we'll just see how this week goes. And then he said he's playing next week. Okay. So there was a little bit of he was kind of pushing. He was being cryptic, but he said he's playing next week. So Jalen Hurts will play next week against the Washington Commanders, but he'll need to look better and play better than he did today. And then of course there's a lot to talk about with Saquon Barkley too.
Yeah, give us like what were they most excited to talk about in the locker room? Was it Saquon? Was it Jalen Carter making that play at the end? What got them riled up?
Jalen Carter, a lot of the players you spoke to, like Jalen Carter, this is the player they see every day. So this is the player they expected, and they figured it was. I think Josh Sweat said it was about time, like that. You know, they knew it was going to happen at some point that Jalen Carter would have that type of play in this game, and that's what they expect of Jalen Carter. Nick Sirianni's message about Jalen Carter was basically that. Like everyone talks about how talented he is, but there's a lot of talented players in the NFL. You don't have the game that he had tonight based on talent alone. I spoke to Jalen Carter about it, and he was just like, yeah, this is what I do. Like, you know, this was going to happen. So he was very matter of fact about it. But his teammates were gushing, and there was one point there when. You know, I was in a group talking to Jalen Carter, and Howie Roseman walks by, and Howie Roseman screams over, Jalen, do you want a picture of this? And then he said, Jalen, I'm proud of you. Right. And so this is something that Howie's really pumped about. You can probably there's footage going around when Howie jumping up, showing his vertical leap, celebrating that the Jalen Carter play at the end to help close it, because that whole final sequence there, like Jalen had the sack obviously on third down, but fourth down he had to push to force Matthew Stafford as well. So that was a big thing. And then Saquon Barkley, actually, so a little shameless plug here. I was story up on allphly.com earlier this year on like how Jalen's appreciation for history. Well, did you know Saquon Barkley's appreciation for history? Saquon Barkley researched this week what the franchise record was in a game for rushing in the playoffs. And it was set by Steve Van Buren. So he broke Steve Van Buren's record. I don't know how much he knew about Steve Van Buren, but he actually looked up because he felt this type of game coming. And so there was all in the locker room of Saquon Barkley. I was there when Saquon Barkley was jogging off the field. He gave the game ball. He had I guess it was the NBC game ball, and he gave it to a fan, to a kid waiting right there. The kid was actually a son of an Eagles staff member, and an Eagles staff member who like does a lot of like real valuable work for these guys behind the scenes. And so I went up to Saquon afterwards, and I asked, like, was that intentional? And he actually didn't realize that was the staff member's son. He just thought he was giving it to a kid. So that story was squashed. But nonetheless, Saquon.
Well, he can still follow the thread, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can't tell us the staff member?
Yeah, sure. It's the outstanding vice president of equipment operations, Greg DiLametros, who Saquon said.
We gave Greg a shout out today.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Yeah, so Saquon said this week actually that he's going to listen to Greg D because in Brazil he did not listen to Greg D, and he didn't have the spikes on that Greg told him to wear, and he was slipping on the field. He changed the spikes. He has that big game, so he's running off the field. He sees this kid waiting. He gives the game ball, and I'm thinking, like, oh, this is a cool story here. I find out who it is, and I'm like, this is a cool story here. And so I go up to Saquon afterwards, but yeah. So I appreciate Saquon's honesty there, but he's obviously grateful for Greg D. But that was a coincidence. If you will.
This was a big Greg D game. Did the guys talk about having to make any halftime adjustments to their equipment?
No, that did not come up specifically. I will listen back overall, but in the conversations I had, it was more just like those conditions were tough, and they did say like they weren't as bad in the first half as they were in that was obvious to everyone watching. Josh Sweat said the third quarter was horrible out there. Josh Sweat was not thrilled about the conditions of the field.
It's got that Florida blood.
He's so I didn't hear anything about the equipment, but the players were pumped to be inside. Jalen said it was a new experience. Jalen Hurts said it was a new experience playing in weather like that.
So you alluded to it, some of the negatives from Jalen Hurts in this game. What did you make of it watching live? And I don't want to harp on this because it was such an odd game and the conditions were so tough. But there was a lot of points in this game when it looked like Jalen wasn't really doing the right thing.
Well, so the question I asked Nick Sirianni, for full disclosure here, is because to your point, like everyone's asking about the defense and going to the championship game, but I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, what fans really want to know is why Jalen Hurts was taking those deep drops on the safety, on the second down sack, on the penultimate. It was really the last drive, but the penultimate drive when you think about the fact that they took the knee, when he couldn't move. Why were those the play calls? And Nick said, there's a lot that goes into it. They'll go back and they'll look at their play calling, but this was a resilient group and that thing. I got a lot of words. I didn't get a specific answer to that. Now, Jordan Mailata, there was some miscommunication on the offensive line or some issues on the offensive line that they referenced. But so there were times when it seemed Jalen didn't have time back there. Like there was someone in his face right away. That said, I thought the play calling, in particular in the second half, was suspect because it was obvious to anyone watching that Jalen couldn't move well. And so, for instance, you take that drive when they could have gone in the 4-minute offense, right? First plays, 3 yards, so it's second and 7. Then you drop Jalen back. He takes a 12-yard loss there. Jalen can't move in that spot. So I did not like that. Jalen was clearly dealing with the knee injury there. He said it was only one injury. He got asked if there were two different injuries, one at the end of the half and then one in the third quarter. And he said, no, there was just one. He kind of had to fight through to finish that game.
Fair enough. I'm curious, what did you think about the Saquon second touchdown when Jalen kind of audible and he looked to him and he started smiling right before he handed the ball off? Did you?
Yeah, so I asked Jalen about that specifically, what Jalen said, or I'm sorry, what Saquon said, and Jalen didn't remember. I know there's a clip going around where it says that Saquon said, "Watch this." From my understanding, that's not what Saquon said that he said. Saquon was making an adjustment about which side to go on there. But before that play, actually, Saquon did request that play. Saquon.
Interesting.
Yeah, he requested that play, that specific play to Kellen Moore based on what he had seen throughout the game. That was communicated to Kellen. He was doing some self-talk on the bench before that to prepare for that. Something that he works on with a trainer on the sideline. But I wasn't there for this part of Saquon. I was working the locker room going around. But I did talk to a few other reporters if that came up, and he said that Saquon talked about which side he had to go on. right? Because there was a play earlier in the game, I think, where he lined up on the wrong side. So I think it was an adjustment. The way it was explained was an adjustment at the line of scrimmage. Now, maybe he said, watch this, but that's not what came up in the locker room conversations.
Exactly. I was trying to give you a story. I was throwing you the oop for a story. I thought it was like kind of like playing a little audible. And they start smiling. It was like any given Sunday moment. I was like, oh, yeah, ZB going to write something nasty about this. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Vinny. Vinny, I was hoping, man. I was hoping that I was hoping that would be something like that. I was pumped. I had all these different ideas percolating about Saquon. You threw me the alley-oop, but I can't dunk, so I couldn't finish it.
Can you give him a good Greg D story in case he wants to work that into his Saquon story?
Oh, yeah. Greg, listen, Greg is the best in the business. He's been around the game so long, and he studies like field conditions, cleat conditions, and people would think, he might tell you, come on, hey, bro, like I'm telling you now, this ain't gonna work right here. And you're like, man, I'm gonna do it. Like, well, that's on you, all right. And he'll walk away, and then it don't work. You try so hard not to look his way. Right? You try so hard to not look his way, so then, you go talk to one of these other guys, man. It's so funny, man. Greg is the man. He's awesome.
And you also, Zach, wrote this week about the importance of the equipment staff beyond Greg.
Yeah, that staff, they're respected by the players because like they do so much in terms of the cleats, the equipment. They're catching balls out there. They're fetching punts. Right. There's so much that those guys do. They're really like the unsung heroes in the locker room. Exactly. Pete and Craig's in there too. That's a good group there. And Ed, exactly. That's a good group.
So that's the thing. You kind of want to get their number. So if something go wrong, you don't want to look Greg way. You call one of them. It's so funny. You like, don't tell Greg, but Greg knows where everything at. That's one person who could tell you where everything at. He's like, there was a 75 something missing. You like, yeah, you took it. You go, you there. He'll be on you, bro. It's so funny, bro. Like, oh man.
So Zach, early reports are that Quinyon Mitchell is expecting to be ready for next weekend. Any idea what it was? Was it a stinger? Was it any insight as to what he was going through and expectations for next weekend?
Yeah, I know it was shoulder. I saw Quinyon walking gingerly in the locker room, but like walking around, there was no sling or anything like that. He was just in his normal street clothes, and he wasn't walking briskly or anything, but he was walking around the locker room. So I don't have specifics on when he'll if he's going to be back, but as far when he walked off the field, that arm wasn't moving, like the shoulder wasn't moving. He was walking off like that. So I didn't know if he'd been in a sling after the game. That was not the case.
And how did Jalen look to you just walking around, moving around?
Well, so Jalen has like a strut as it is, right? And so he just had like the Jalen strut. It wasn't a crazy limp. Now walking off the field, it was a little bit more pronounced than it was after the game when he had showered and changed and walked to the podium. But that's why I did want to get specific, because he did say initially, he said, we'll see how this week goes. And so my antenna goes up when he says that, like, what's going on here? We'll see how this week goes. And so I asked specifically, is this week in question? And then he did say he's going to play Sunday against Washington.
You have talked about how he leans into the myth building at times.
Yes.
So I'm sure that may have had something to do with it. I do want to ask you too, Zach, look, Greg Delamitros and his staff, they get the ZB bump this week. Nolan Smith gets the ZB bump as well. He gets another sack. He gets a sack fumble here this week. I shared this stat earlier. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith combining 7 pressures, 4 hits, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, and 2 forced fumbles in this game against the I'm just forgetting who they just played. The LA Rams.
The Rams.
When you talk with the defensive players in the locker room, they talk about the 2 young Georgia Bulldogs and just their impact on this game.
Yeah, for sure. The development of Nolan Smith, like this is, they spoke about just how much he's come on this year, and Josh Sweat referenced it. Like Nolan's such a big part of that defensive line that the pressure that he gets. I saw like at one point Clint Hurt had this huge. He's the defensive line coach for those who are unfamiliar. He had this huge smile on his face, just like looking at the corner of the locker room where the defensive linemen are now. Nolan Smith actually is in the opposite. Nolan Smith's lockers with the linebackers, not with the D linemen. So they might have to change that next year, right? But Clint Hurt was like pumped to see that. I saw Washburn, the edge rusher coach, Jeremiah Washburn. There was a lot of excitement there. Those two guys were the tone setters on the defensive line. Jalen Carter in particular, when I write my two stories off this game, one's going to be on the defense. It's going to be focused on Jalen Carter probably. And then the other, obviously, Saquon Barkley's game. You are correct in identifying Nolan Smith. That forced fumble was huge. Josh Sweat said that after the safety, they knew they needed to take the ball away. And, Jalen Hurts referenced like the turnovers were huge. They wish they were able to score points off those turnovers. They weren't able to score points off them. But when you just consider that the game was 16-15, right?
Yes.
After that safety. And the Rams get the ball back, for the Eagles to get back. I thought at that point, I'm like, whoa, they're in trouble. They are in trouble. And then, by the way, even that final drive, it's a 6-point game. The Rams had just gone downfield. When the Eagles had the punt there with 2 minutes, like 2:30 to go or 2:16 to go, I was like, man, they're in trouble. The Rams are going to drive, and sure enough, they did. But Jalen Carter just made those big plays when they needed it.
You mentioned Nolan Smith, Zach. How did he make his introduction in this game?
Good. I appreciate you teaming me up there.
Oh.
Nolan Smith ran out holding the Nakobe Dean jersey, similar to Lane Johnson holding the Jason Peters jersey back when Vinny Curry won the Super Bowl in February 2018. So that was his recognition of Nakobe. And for those who don't know, like Nolan and Nakobe, they're more than just college teammates. These guys were roommates in college, like close friends. When Nakobe Dean was when he fell to the 3rd round in the draft in 2022, who was sitting right next to him at his draft party? Nolan Smith, right? These guys are so tight. The first person who went up to Nakobe on the field when Nakobe got injured was Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith tried to get him to stand up, and Nakobe said he couldn't stand up, right? So, it was meaningful that they held that that he held that up, that Nolan Smith went out the field holding Nakobe Dean's jersey.
And so next week, Zach, we get the NFC Championship game at home. The Eagles with a 3rd time against the Washington Commanders this season, a game that was very chippy last time. In the locker room, were guys looking ahead to that matchup yet?
So I did ask Nick Sirianni last night when Washington wins that game, what's the reaction with the team? And he said, we're just thinking about this week's game. So they weren't thinking about that.
Yeah, right.
Jalen Hurts had a smile on his face, and or I should say a smirk, more than a smile, a smirk, and said he's just happy to be in the championship game. But obviously, Jalen didn't finish that Washington game. Some of the players were like, it's significant because they lost to them. Right, the last time they played, they lost. This is a rematch. The Eagles haven't lost often this season. They lost to Washington, but yeah, I think this is me editorializing. They were pumped first off that they're home. I mean, I think that's the biggest deal of all. Is these guys, they know the advantage of playing here, at least when it doesn't snow. And then they, as a quick aside, Nick Sirianni always says like, it's an advantage to the team that makes it an advantage, right? About the weather, and that was brought up to Josh Sweat, and Josh Sweat's like, it was no advantage out there. But as far as the Commanders, yeah, like they're happy to be home, have the home field advantage, get in their routine. They know the stadium, but mostly, this is a team that they're familiar with, and the game plans are familiar with, the scheme they're familiar with, and so in a week like this, I think that's helpful, and yeah, there is I thought in the locker room after that game down in Washington, the Eagles wanted them again. the Eagles truly wanted them again. So that's now they have their chance to get them again. They get the rubber match here in Philly. Now, Jaden Daniels is healthy here this time, right? He wasn't healthy on that Thursday night game. He's healthy. This. I was so impressed with Washington last night. I still think the Eagles are fortunate. I think Detroit's a better team than Washington. They weren't last night, of course, but yeah, this is a favorable outcome for the Eagles.
All right. Any final thoughts, Zach? Tell us I guess you already told us what you're going to write, but anything else that has gone unaddressed from your locker room report escapades?
Yeah, for a few of Vinny's former teammates were around. Brian Dawkins was in the locker room. So Brian Dawkins was not a former teammate of Vinny, but worked for the team when Vinny was there. And obviously Eagles legend. The Eagles brought him out like at the right time in this game. There was a lull and they bring out Brian Dawkins and it was a big deal. But Doc was in the locker room. Fletcher Cox was in the house tonight. Jason Kelsey was in the house tonight.
Looks great. Yeah, you see that?
His playing weight is off.
Yeah, he's playing.
Come back as a linebacker,
dude. Trust me, he let me know all about it this morning. He said, "Damn, man, you bigger than me when I play." I said, "Yo, let's not take it to the extreme, bro." That was just this morning.
And you Wally pipped him. You took his spot on PHLY.
That's right.
Hey, to the point that, I think he's like, "Yo, what's up with the podcast, bro?" Yeah, doing a great job.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. PHLY show with Vinny and Fletch. I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, but I would say this was not a locker room that was like overcome with like emotion from this win. It was more like they survived. This was a tough game. They were happy to get this over with. They advanced. Then comes next week. Now, next week, if they win, I imagine that's when the cigars come out. Mm-hmm. That's when, there's a little more dancing and whatnot in there. But when I got in there today, it was more, look, it wasn't like just a November 14th win or something like that. But it certainly didn't seem like this monumental, I remember where I was locker room. You have a few of those locker rooms that stand out. Tonight wasn't like that, but it was it was clearly a team that knew this was a tough game to win. They were able to win it. Slay has such like respect for Matthew Stafford. He kept bringing up like how tough Stafford was to play in this game. But yeah, the Eagles survived, and now on this field in 7 days. Washington Commanders, and it won't be as white next week, I imagine.
Oh, maybe.
So Zach, question: how was the locker room playlist tonight? Were we doing Michael Jackson? What was bumping?
Yeah,
in
still
there?
some oldies. I did look into this. VG on Anthony's show wanted me to look into this, and I did look into this. And I was going to save it for tomorrow morning's Anthony show, but I'll say here and I'll say it there. Is my understanding is that Howie controls a lot of the playlist for the post-game locker room.
What?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, this was one person's for post-game, not like during the week, but during post-game. Some people are like, I had one player say Howie says to put on such and such, and then they said Nick too, but like the old, I don't know music that well, but the music they're listening to in the post-game locker room are not the music that like the high school football players are listening to, right?
This is the LiAngelo Ball.
I actually am familiar with that song because
How's that go?
I read his story. The song?
Yeah.
No, I'm familiar with the story of the record deal he just signed and the fact that all the Ball brothers are just rolling right now, right? It's good. That's like the first family of basketball at the moment. But
we're playing a lot of Pink Pony Club in our house these days.
Yeah, that's not what they were playing in the locker room. This was more like what you would play at a wedding,
at a cookout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At a cookout. There you go.
I got you, Zach.
Appreciate it.
Last one for me, Zach. You know what this week ahead holds, right?
Jason Peters used to do the music.
Yeah.
This is Josh Harris week. I want you to address the fact that the Eagles are playing a division rival for the NFC Championship, a hated opponent, and the team is owned by the same guy who owns a team across the street. Do you think that Jeffrey Lurie has some extra juice? And should Jeffrey Lurie pull enough strings this week to get the South Philly Stadium complex deal kiboshed and flex his Philadelphia muscle?
Wow. All right. That's a loaded question.
You want to talk about being under pressure?
Yeah. First off, Joshua Harris here. Josh Harris. I know you rip on him. I know that.
But
I said though. I said when he bought the team, I said, Bo, get your jokes in now. He's gonna make that franchise better.
Well, that's not a Josh Harris thing. That's a Dan Snyder thing. That's a dead person.
Okay, yeah, but I'm saying, but like he, for whatever issues people have with the Sixers, like that is a franchise that invests, that spends, that is like, their
that
facilities,
has no ties to the city or the community, that interlopes in from all different areas and different rivals of the city. Give me a break.
That interlopes in from different rivals. I'm trying to put together what you just said.
And the Commanders, two hated rivals.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying there. I mean, that's like the sports conglomerates are certain, but I stand by my point. People don't root for
that
owners.
Wastes city government funds.
That's a separate. So we can devote a whole separate show to the arena deal and to what happened during these past 2 years and to what's going to happen in 2031 or before that. I hear you there. I would say that this game is not Jeffrey Lurie versus Josh Harris. This game is the Eagles versus the Commanders. But to your point, like I bet Eagles fans wish Daniel Snyder was still the owner because Josh Harris, like there is an infrastructure in place there. That I
think this needs to be a loser leaves town match, right, Vinny?
A loser leaves town.
Loser leaves town. Eagles win. Harris has to sell the Sixers. Eagles lose. Jeffrey's got to sell. They're favorites. It's okay.
Nah, man.
That's
I can't step side with him on that one.
That's.
He doesn't have to sell. He just has to speed up the process of having Julian take over.
I don't know if that's happening either. No, the process for that. Like, I think obviously,
process.
I don't know where I'm going with this. Bottom line is
just know that I feel like how you feel. I'm stumbling over here too hard.
Zach, buckle up for a very uncomfortable week.
I'll tell you this, Jamie. That's basically been every show since I started. It is an uncomfortable week, right? There was a Bo was away for 2 weeks last year for a lovely trip with his wife. Those weeks were not uncomfortable. Other than that, there's been a lot of Other than that, there's been a lot of uncomfortable weeks. But that's what. Hey, look, that's why we're getting all the comments, all the likes. Keep giving us the thumbs up. Keep giving us those comments. Leave your comments. I'm reading them on YouTube. I'm reading them on Apple reviews. I'm looking up all the Reddit forums about the show. Anywhere you leave a comment about the PHLY Eagles show, I am listening. I'm going on our Discord. Anywhere you leave a comment, I am listening. I promise you that. I'm committed to make this the best show we can.
And if you are a Sixers fan, go to the PHLY locker and buy all your Sixers merchandise there and do not support the owner of the Washington Commanders.
I'm gonna put some thought after I finish these stories. My ride into work one of these days, I'll put some thought into a cogent Josh Harris discussion. I haven't thought about that today. Like my prep for this coming up the elevator, Josh Harris was not included.
Oh man.
Well, Zach, we love you. We thank you for giving us this locker room report presented by Valley Forge, and we will stay tuned to allphly.com to read your stories from tonight's game. Good luck writing. Good luck getting home.
Thanks, guys. Now you sound like Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. See you, Zach.
All right. Before we close out, let's go through the snaps. I had a couple of people in the chat asking for that. So let's start with defense. 70 snaps played on defense.
Oof.
CJ Gardner-Johnson, Zack Baun, Darius Slay, Reed Blankenship play all 70. Jalen Carter, 68 of 70, as you told us, Fran.
Nasty.
Oren Burks, 67. I think that means there were 3 snaps of dime. Cooper DeJean, 67 snaps as well. 61 for Josh Sweat, 57 for Nolan Smith. Actually, that's interesting. It's the first time in a while that Sweat has played more snaps than Nolan. 56 snaps for Isaiah Rodgers in the stead of Quinyon Mitchell, who played just 9. Milton Williams with 44. 18 for Moro Ojomo, 17 for Jordan Davis and Jalix Hunt, and 9 for Keely Ringo. Jalix Hunt had a big sack in this game.
Bro, I was going crazy too. I actually was in the building for that one. That was right before I came here.
That was a good hustle sack. He really Havenstein had some issues tonight. The Eagles.
I mean, he's been playing well.
Yeah.
They were able to get after him.
And then on offense, 61 snaps. Mailata, Hurts.
Real quick, did you say Jordan Davis?
Yeah, 17. Same as Hunt, one fewer than Ojomo.
Okay.
61
snaps for the offense.
Bryce Huff was on?
Bryce Huff did not play a snap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 61 for Mailata, Hurts, Becton, Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens. 60 for A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson. 58 for Dallas Goedert. 55 for Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith. 38 for Jahan Dotson. 20 for Grant Calcaterra. 8 for Johnny Wilson. Only 6 snaps for Kenny Gainwell. 3 for E.J. Jenkins. 2 for Fred Johnson. 1 for Reed Blankenship.
6 snaps for Kenny?
Only 6 snaps
and
for
all
Kenny
6
Gainwell.
snaps was meaningful, I feel like.
It felt that way.
Yeah.
Kenny Gainwell.
Listen, this team rides its best players hard. They have all season, and it has not really come back to bite them yet. So all the power to them.
Bo, I wanted to give a couple shout-outs before we get out of here. We have a lot of international viewers
Love
tonight.
the internationals.
I love this stuff. Does that look like Aiden McKee, Tanner's cousin?
Aiden McKee.
From Belfast in the house.
Max Trusowski.
From Osaka, Japan.
Ooh, I love an Osaka.
And we have FM Warner from Adelaide, Australia. So big shout-out to our international
my old
viewers.
stomping grounds.
Yeah, is that where that's where you were?
Study
my
abroad.
wife's name.
Yeah, that's right.
She's in Adelaide. Yeah,
love in Adelaide. Aquinas. I was an Aquinas man. Shout out to Aquinas.
I was a Fremantle, Australia, West Coast man.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts. Fran, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the beginning, just an outstanding performance, certainly from the run game, but I think defensively, you got to give so much credit to certainly Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, but that entire group made things difficult for Matthew Stafford. You go to the second half, that pivotal stretch, end of third quarter, early fourth quarter, defense, hats off.
Jamie?
Jalen Carter, Saquon Barkley, my God, they won a game for, like, everybody contributed. Slay was great, Baun was great. Oren Burks, we talked about. So many people contributed to this, but Jalen Carter almost said, give me that game at the end. That was one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen from an Eagles D-line.
That punch out was what a precise punch.
He saved my mental state.
Oh, my gosh. That is such a man among boys play.
Yeah, it was. And I hope the Washington narrative gets out of control this week. I just let it snowball, baby. Let that line drop. Like, let Jaden Daniels,
get it down to 2.5.
Yeah. Make the Eagles feel like they really got to protect this house.
Vinny?
Man, big time players make big time plays, man. That's the only recap I got from tonight. And let me just say two things that I said in the beginning from our very first episode. Nolan Smith, breakout player of the year.
Bang.
And Saquon. MVP.
Thank God you
season.
invented him.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
So far, man, I'm just enjoying this ride, watching. I'm enjoying it with you guys. And next week is the NFC Championship, and hopefully I won't have a voice going crazy.
It'll be like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also invented a Saquon shirt for us as well.
Yeah.
So,
Saquon.
Nothing against that.
Battle
we have
cry.
another super chat from Eric under the gun who says, if the Eagles win the NFC Championship and head to the Super Bowl, will Vinny do the postgame in an underdog's mask at least for 10 minutes? Challenge proposed.
Oof.
it's right there. It's mine. That's from
Is
the
that
run.
yours? Nice.
That was on the NFL Network set and everything. They borrowed mine.
Did
look
it?
at that.
Yeah. They couldn't find one. I bought one as soon as it happened, as soon as I saw Chris Long, and they sold out real
Where
quick.
Bowl's at though? He had the last.
Hit that, right.
The Lassie one.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Lassie for the book show.
Now, Fran, you're not going to be with us next week.
No, I'll jump on remote. Well,
Okay.
I'll jump on from.
You got draft work to do.
Yeah, we're leaving Thursday for the Star.
So you're going to start pinpointing on 32nd pick, right?
Wow.
Circling guys in that range.
Yeah, actually, I guess
They're guaranteed.
they will be in mock drafts that happen this week. They will be at least 31st or 32nd. Yeah, based off because it's all by probability.
So, Fred, we all know who I want the Eagles to draft at 32nd pick.
Mike Green, Marshall, go Hurd.
I mean, what a name. How could you not? Absolutely. Yeah, for me, I think it's the power of those two guys, Saquon and Jalen Carter. I think we will. This game that was so memorable, being played in the conditions like that, given the stakes, Jalen Carter making the plays when it mattered, Saquon as well. Just the power of this of the star power of this roster, the difference in the Eagles going to the championship game. Pretty cool.
Said.
All right. Well, we will have you covered with everything you need ahead of the NFC Championship game, from the X's and the O's to the Joshes and the Schmoes.
Bill Matt said to clean that mask. He's worn it a bunch.
And so we thank everybody for watching the PHLY Eagles postgame show presented by Bet365 and TrueMark Financial. We will be back in the saddle tomorrow at 2 o'clock and all week as well. Thanks to Julia for making it all happen. Fran, Jamie, Vinny, the Eagles, 28-22 by the skin of their teeth, go into the NFC Championship game at home. What a week it's going to be. We'll be here with you for all of it. Join us, please. And that'll do it for the PHLY Eagles postgame show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.